The Silent Journey, 30 Zen Stories from Zen Masters to Enlighten You. Welcome back, everyone, to Mind Podcast. Reading and enjoying these short stories from the classic Zen forest will help you grasp the unique charm of Zen's philosophy in a natural and comfortable way. Although Zen is profound, its form is extremely simple and lively, aiming directly at the heart without needing words. Each story in this book fully embodies the wisdom of Zen masters and Buddhist classics, containing countless genuine meanings about life. It is indeed an excellent book for life's enlightenment. 1. The Laughing Buddha. Zen Master Budai lived during the Five Dynasties period in Fenghua County, Zhejiang. He believed he could harmonize with the principles of the Buddhas above and align with the opportunities of sentient beings below, so he called himself Che Chu, the Laughing Monk. Due to his large physique, he was also nicknamed Chan Ding Zi, long-eared. Budai often walked around with his chest bare, speaking freely, and carrying a cloth sack over his shoulder with a rosary in his right hand. He wandered everywhere, begging for alms and putting whatever he received into his cloth sack. Therefore, people called him the Laughing Buddha. One time, when the Tiantom temple in Zhejiang was holding a ceremony, the monks took their seats one by one. Laughing Buddha appeared from nowhere, sat in the abbot's seat in the dining hall without any hesitation, and started joking. The dining hall master saw this and without hesitation tried to pull him down. However, Laughing Buddha remained firmly seated. Even when the disciplinary master came to pull him down, he sat still like Mount Tai. When the abbot was about to arrive, the dining hall master hurriedly went to the middle of the hall, pinched Laughing Buddha's ear and stretched it out over 10 feet, but he still didn't move. Everyone was astonished. The abbot saw this and said to the dining hall master, "Let him sit there, I'll sit in the back." From then on, whenever Laughing Buddha came to the dining hall, he would sit in the center without hesitation. This incident inspired a poem at the Tiantom temple in Zhejiang. Maitreya's true nature in the poor settles in the central seat. The disciplinary master's tug makes the ear long. The abbot shows vast kindness by yielding, creating a place for the great seat. In 916 AD, Laughing Buddha passed away on a stone by the Daqing rock in front of the Leilin temple, leaving behind his final verse, "Maitreya, true Maitreya, 1,000 billion incarnations." At times people do not recognize him. Because of this famous verse, people revered him as Maitreya Bodhisattva. Laughing Buddha's big heart and large belly, always smiling, made people honor him as Maitreya Buddha. Zen wisdom. Laughing Buddha's teachings remind us to meet everyone with a smile, forget all grievances, and embrace the universe with a big heart. A big heart can tolerate all troubles and obstacles, and a revered smile forms boundless joy. We should learn that if we respond to everything with a smile, there will be nothing we cannot tolerate. 2. A stupa built from sand. A young monk named Iron Eye vowed to use the money he received from alms to build a golden Buddha statue. This endeavor, though immensely meritorious, was extremely challenging. However, once Iron Eye made his vow, he did not back down. On the first day of fundraising, he went to the busiest area early in the morning to ask passers-by for donations. A while later, a warrior passed by. Iron Eye bowed and said, "I vow to build a golden Buddha statue. Please contribute a little." The warrior ignored him and continued walking. Iron Eye followed, humbly requesting, "Any amount will do." The warrior, annoyed, waved him off and firmly said, "No." Iron Eye followed for more than 10 miles. Finally, the warrior, out of patience, threw a coin to him. Iron Eye picked up the coin, thanked the warrior, and bowed. The warrior, curious, asked, "Why are you so happy about one coin?" Iron Eye replied, "Today is my first day asking for alms to build the Buddha statue. Without this coin, my determination might have wavered. Your generous donation has confirmed my belief in achieving my great vow, making me very happy." After expressing his gratitude, Iron Eye continued on his way. Through many seasons of rain and snow, Iron Eye finally collected enough money to complete his vow. Zen wisdom. A stupa can be built from grains of sand, and mountains can be formed from stones. If someone firmly believes in their goal and persistently strives toward it, they will eventually achieve success. 3. The first lesson in sculpting. A novice monk named Dai Nian was deeply passionate about sculpting Buddha statues, but without professional guidance, his work was often unsatisfactory. Determined to improve, he went to seek instruction from Zen master Wu Dai. Each day when Dai Nian came to the Dharma hall, Wu Dai would place a precious stone in his hand and ask him to hold it tightly. Then, he would talk to him about all sorts of topics except sculpting. This routine continued for 3 months without a word about sculpting techniques or why he was given a precious stone to hold. Finally, Dai Nian became frustrated but didn't dare ask Wu Dai directly. One day, Wu Dai, as usual, placed a precious stone in his hand and prepared to talk. Dai Nian, unable to endure any longer, blurted out, "Master, today's stone isn't a precious one." Wu Dai asked, "What is it then?" Without even looking, Dai Nian replied, "It's just an ordinary stone." Wu Dai joyfully exclaimed, "That's right. Sculpting relies on the coordination between the hand and the mind. Your first lesson is now complete." In the world, people often want to achieve skills quickly, even hoping to become Buddhas quickly. However, without enduring the cold to experience the fragrance of plum blossoms, true understanding cannot be achieved. Although enlightenment may come in an instant, it requires long-term practice. The first lesson in practice is to endure the passage of time and all worldly distractions. Zen wisdom. Practicing Zen is about cultivating the mind. True Zen requires a tranquil environment, serene energy, and a peaceful heart. A person with serene energy will naturally be calm. A person with a tranquil mind will attain enlightenment. Where there is tranquility, there will be realization, and with realization, one can achieve their desires. Sul Inatsi, a novice monk, said to Zen master Wu Dai, "Master, I feel I have learned enough here. I wish to take my leave and travel." "What do you mean by enough?" the master asked. "Enough means full, no more can be added," replied the monk. "Before you go, bring a large basin of stones," the master instructed. The monk returned with a basin filled with stones. The master asked, "Is this basin full?" "Yes, it is full," the monk answered. The master picked up a handful of sand and poured it into the basin. The sand settled between the stones without spilling over. "Is it full now?" he asked. "Yes, now it's full," the monk said. The master then took some lime and poured it into the basin. The lime also settled without spilling. "Is it full now?" he asked again. "Yes, now it's really full," the monk replied. The master then poured a cup of water into the basin, which was absorbed without overflowing. "Is it full now?" he asked once more. Humility brings benefits, arrogance causes loss. Thinking oneself to be full is actually the greatest lack. One must learn throughout their entire life. The vastness of life and the endless sea of knowledge are infinite. 5. The moving flag. Grandmaster Hui Neng first arrived at the Dharma Nature Temple. There he encountered 2 monks arguing under a flagpole with a Dharma banner fluttering. One monk exclaimed, "It's clear the flag is moving. Why argue?" The other monk retorted, "Without wind, how can the flag move? Clearly it's the wind that's moving." The two argued back and forth, attracting a crowd of onlookers who were equally divided in their opinions. Grandmaster Hui Neng shook his head, sighed, and approached them, saying, "It is neither the wind nor the flag that moves. It is your minds that are moving." Someone reported this to the abbot. Shocked, the abbot and his disciples immediately went to pay respects to Grandmaster Hui Neng, saying, "Amitabha Buddha, please stay and guide us to reduce our confusion." Thus, Grandmaster Hui Neng stayed to preach, and soon Zen teachings spread widely across the region. Zen wisdom. When the mind is calm, everything is naturally at ease. When the mind is disturbed, all phenomena appear different. Amid the ever-changing external environment, maintaining inner stability enhances one's ability to see clearly. Amidst the moving wind and fluttering flag, keeping a calm heart, as steady as Mount Tai, is essential. 6. Big and small usefulness. After a devotee had finished worshipping at the temple, he went to the guest hall to rest. As he sat down, he heard a young guest master instructing the elderly Zen master Wu Dai. "Old master, there's a devotee here. Please serve tea." Within 2 minutes, the young guest master said again, "Old master, the incense ash on the Buddha table is too much. Please clean it up. The flowers on the table need watering too. And don't forget to invite the devotee to stay for lunch." The devotee saw Zen master Wu Dai being ordered around by the young guest master, running here and there, and couldn't bear it any longer. He asked the master, "Old Zen master, what is your relationship with the guest master?" The old Zen master, very proud, replied, "He is my disciple." The devotee, puzzled, asked, "If the young guest master is your disciple, why is he so disrespectful to you, ordering you around for everything?" The old Zen master, still joyful, answered, "Having such a diligent disciple is a blessing for me. When devotees come, he takes care of everything. I only need to pour tea without saying much. Normally, he takes care of everything like changing water and incense for the Buddha. I just need to dust. He only asks me to invite devotees for meals, not to cook or make tea. This arrangement is very comforting to me. Otherwise, I would be very exhausted." Still confused, the devotee asked, "Who is greater, the teacher or the disciple?" The old Zen master answered, "Of course, the elder is greater, but the younger one is useful. There's a saying, an elder monk is a treasure." Devotees usually offer support more to elder monks than to young ones, believing that elders are more valuable. It's hard to understand that while a young prince may seem small now, he may rule the country in the future. Likewise, a young novice may become a great Dharma king in the future. Zen wisdom. In our families and workplaces, if people were as broad-minded and accommodating as Zen Master Wu Dei, if leaders at all levels, parents and children-in-law, didn't demand absolute obedience, but instead served and cared for each other, mutual respect and cooperation would prevail. A big belly can hold. An ancient statue of Maitreya Buddha, neglected for years, had many damages. The temple invited artisans to repair it. When they opened the belly of the Maitreya to reinforce and refurbish it, the abbot and monks were astonished to find 20 ceramic statues of men, women, and children inside the big belly of the Maitreya. People often admired the bright smile and the large belly of the Maitreya Buddha, sometimes even writing couplets about him. A big belly can contain the intolerable things of the world. A constant smile laughs at the ridiculous people in the world. But how many can truly understand the real reason behind the big belly and constant smile of Maitreya Buddha? Buddhism and its followers can create such profound scriptures in a Maitreya Buddha with such an encompassing view of sentient beings. This reflects true compassion and profound wisdom, making it a masterpiece of humanistic art. With a heart that encompasses others, bearing the responsibilities of parents, friends, and sentient beings, can the belly be small? Can the smile not be radiant? Helping others, helping yourself. There was a narrow, dark alley without streetlights, making it very inconvenient to walk at night. One evening, a monk was passing through this alley on his way back to the temple on the mountain. The alley was so dark that he kept bumping into others, feeling very annoyed. At that moment, he saw a blind man carrying a lamp, groping his way into the alley, which quickly brightened. The monk overheard people saying, "That blind man is so strange, he knows he can't see anything, yet he carries a lamp every night." The monk, intrigued, waited until the blind man approached and asked, "Are you really blind?" The man replied, "Yes, I have been blind since birth. To me, day and night are the same. I don't even know what light looks like." The monk, even more curious, asked, "Pardon my asking, but if you can't see, why do you carry a lamp?" The blind man answered, "To protect myself. I've heard that at night people are like me and can't see anything. That's why I carry a lamp." The monk sighed, "Amitabha Buddha, how compassionate you are." The blind man replied, "No, I do it for myself." The monk asked, "Why do you say that?" The blind man explained, "You just said you bumped into others in the alley, didn't you?" The monk replied, "Yes, I bumped into 2 people just now." The blind man said, "You see, I'm blind and can't see anything, but I didn't bump into anyone. I used to bump into people all the time, just like you. After some thought, I started carrying a lamp. The light helps others see me and prevents them from bumping into me. This method has proven very effective." The monk sighed, "I have traveled far and wide searching for Buddha, not realizing Buddha is right next to me." Zen wisdom. Lighting a lamp for others also allows them to see you, bringing convenience to both. Helping others ultimately helps yourself. Pure Zen. Zen Master Yunju, whose secular name was Kim Shi, hailed from Nanchang. From a young age, he achieved enlightenment under the guidance of Zen Master Baizhang Mingzhao. He was robust and walked with a steady gait. Every evening, Zen Master Yunju would sit in meditation in a cave on a deserted island. One day, some mischievous children hid along his path, waiting for the master to pass by. As he walked past, one child reached down from a tree and tapped the master on the head, expecting to frighten him. Instead, the master stood still and remained calm, not moving at all. The child, scared, quickly withdrew his hand, while the master continued on his way as if nothing had happened. The next day, the children approached Zen Master Yunju and asked, "Master, we've heard that there have been ghosts haunting this area recently. Is it true?" The master replied, "Not at all. But we've heard that people have been hit on the head by ghosts while walking." The master calmly responded, "Those weren't ghosts, just mischievous children hiding in the trees." "How can you be sure?" they asked. The master explained, "Because ghosts don't have such slow hands." Then the master continued, "A warrior on the battlefield fears neither life nor death. A hunter entering the mountains fears neither tigers nor wolves. A fisherman entering the waters fears neither dragons nor serpents. What does a monk fear? The answer is one word: enlightenment. When you transcend life and death, there is no longer anything to fear." The children were left speechless. Even in the face of terrifying situations, Zen Master Yunju could discern the true nature of events with calm and clarity, recognizing the children's prank for what it was. Zen wisdom: the world is ever-changing, and fortune and misfortune are unpredictable. If we are mentally prepared and possess the capacity to accept changes, we can face life's challenges calmly and confidently. Don't be concerned. One day, a lay disciple visited Zen Master Zhaozhou. Feeling embarrassed because he hadn't brought any gifts, he said to the master, "Master, I didn't bring anything with me." Master Zhaozhou replied, "Then just leave it here." The disciple, confused, felt even more embarrassed and said, "Master, I didn't bring any gifts. How can you ask me to leave it here?" Master Zhaozhou smiled and said, "Then just take it away." In life, many of our worries and troubles arise from being overly concerned about things. Practicing Zen is similar. The more we care about others' opinions of us, the less natural we become, feeling uneasy and unsure of what to do. This mindset damages our psychological well-being and undermines our happiness. Zen wisdom: not being overly concerned is what Buddhism calls no mind. No mind means having no jealousy, no self-blame, and no excessive desires. This state of mind brings freedom and peace. 11. No mind is the way. A disciple once asked Zen Master Ji Ming of the Tang Dynasty, "What is no mind?" The master replied, "Seeing, hearing, feeling, and knowing without obstacles, hearing sounds and smelling scents always in samadhi, like a bird flying freely in the sky, neither grasping nor rejecting, without increasing or decreasing in love. If you understand the essence of no mind, you are truly free." Thus, it is said that dealing with people without doubt, even in the face of doubt, is true no mind. If one can learn to be unconcerned, they can walk tall, be free from worries, and naturally find peace and happiness. One should not overly worry about gains and losses, and should see things as they are. Don't be concerned about others' opinions. Just ask yourself if you have a clear conscience. Living with a straightforward heart, one can remain unaffected and find true freedom. 12. In the world, beyond the world. While on a pilgrimage, Zen Master Wuxian felt thirsty and sought water. He saw a young man drawing water from a pond and asked for a cup. The young man, impressed, said, "Master, if one day I see through the mundane world, I will definitely become a monk like you. But after I become a monk, I won't wander around. Instead, I will find a secluded place to meditate and recite sutras without showing myself." Zen Master Wuxian smiled and asked, "When will you see through the mundane world?" The young man replied, "In this area, I know the water source best. Everyone in the village depends on this source. If I find someone to take over this responsibility, then I can find my own path and leave the mundane world to become a monk." Zen Master Wuxian said, "You understand the nature of the water source. If the entire water source is in the water, what will happen if it is completely separated from the surface?" The young man replied, "The nature of the water source is to contain water below, flowing upwards. If the entire water source is placed in water, it won't function and might even be swept away by the current. Similarly, if completely separated from the surface, it can't draw water." Zen Master Wuxian said, "The relationship between the water source and the flow is like the relationship between people in the world. If one immerses entirely in the world, They will be swept away by the 5 desires of the mundane world. Conversely, if one completely separates from the world, their life will be rootless and stagnant. Therefore, a practitioner should balance engagement and detachment, neither withdrawing completely nor getting lost in the world. Merely seeing through the mundane is not enough. One must also have a heart to save sentient beings. The correct attitude in dealing with life is to balance both worldly engagement and transcendence. The young man Enlighten said, "Master, your words have truly opened my eyes. You are indeed a good teacher to me." Zen wisdom. In our lives, it is best to let go when necessary and to hold on when needed, like a water source that balances between engagement and detachment. The thought of transcendence must coexist with the pursuit of worldly engagement. 13. Realize true freedom. One day, a disciple asked Zen master Luohan Zongtai, "What is the true teaching?" The master replied, "The teaching is the mind." The disciple asked, "My mind is troubled and confused. How can I attain liberation?" The master replied, "Clouds driven by the wind, the vast emptiness is clear." The disciple asked again, "How can I make my mind clear and pure?" The master replied, "One clean sweep reveals the boundless light." One clean sweep reveals the boundless light means letting go of oneself and purifying oneself. In the busy life of the mundane world, one should take time to rest and live leisurely. Whether it's a morning walk, fetching clean water from a green hillside, or taking a retreat in a quiet mountain, these are ways to nurture one's spirit. Of course, you can also leave behind worldly concerns, calm your mind, and cultivate your spirit through meditation. Leisure is a blessing in wisdom. A leisurely person naturally finds freedom, living clearly and without confusion. The opposite of leisure is busyness and tension. Often we create tension and anxiety by being too concerned about gains and losses. Zen wisdom. Leisure is an attitude and a habit. True leisure is practiced diligently, turning it into a habit and creating a simple, structured life. 14. The tumbling Zen master. There was a man whose work was extremely stressful, and he often felt irritable, becoming overly conscious of everything around him. One day, he met a Zen master who told him, "The first thing you must learn in life is how to fall without getting hurt. Tumbling headfirst off a chair or while working should not matter. I have learned the art of falling without injury and will teach it to you." Before becoming a monk, the Zen master had been a clown in a theatrical troupe. So, the man first learned tumbling from the master. The Zen master said, "You are nothing but an old sock, so don't worry about falling. An old sock won't get hurt or break. That's the entire secret. Now, let's pretend to be an old sock. Don't strike hard. Remember, everything around you is soft cotton, so keep your muscles relaxed." With this training, the Zen master picked him up and threw him, and indeed he was uninjured. This person trained diligently and, whenever faced with urgent matters, would remind himself not to be tense and to imagine himself as a soft old sock, both physically and mentally. Approach life with ease, not seeing oneself as the center of the universe, and not overly concerned with gains and losses. Treat life with ease, viewing oneself as a soft old sock, naturally maintaining a calm and free spirit, brimming with vitality. 15. Transmitting the Dharma must transmit the heart. A novice monk went to visit Zen master Tie Chu, wanting the master to explain the Linji Lu, the record of Linji, to him. Zen master Tie Chu said, "Then you've come to the wrong person. If you want to learn about the Linji Lu, you should go to Zen master Hongshuan at Yuanjue Temple." The monk replied, "No, I've already heard Zen master Hongshuan. I heard that you are the true disciple of Zen master Ji Shui at Tianlong Temple. I must hear your explanation." Despite refusing several times, the Zen master eventually took the novice monk to the martial arts training area to practice martial arts together. Only after they were both drenched in sweat did they stop. Zen master Tie Chu then brought the novice monk back to the Dharma hall, wiped his sweat, and smiled, asking, "So, how was my explanation of the Linji Lu?" The novice monk was astonished. How could the Zen master claim to have explained the Linji Lu after just a bout of martial arts? Unable to answer, the monk finally said, "Zen master, was your explanation of the Linji Lu merely a lesson in swordsmanship?" Zen master Tie Chu then earnestly explained, "I am a swordsman, so I advocate the way of the sword. Although I also study Zen, I do not aspire to be a typical Zen practitioner. The Linji Lu is not about strategies on paper, nor something to be understood through words alone. The teachings of Zen Master Zhi Shui cannot be learned merely by listening to words. I am not a loudspeaker. The novice monk objected. By this logic, aren't the great masters of the past who transmitted the Dharma in heart merely loudspeakers? Zen Master Ti Chu replied, transmitting the Dharma in heart is one thing, but a loudspeaker is another. Zen wisdom. Not being a loudspeaker is the unique style of Zen practitioners. Speaking as one speaks is Zen parrot talk, different from transmitting the Dharma in heart. Therefore, all Zen teachings usually start with self-digestion. Once understood and assimilated, one can speak authentically. 16. No mountain can block the clouds. Monk Xianjing left his official position and became a monk at the age of 27. He went to Mount Luofu to follow Zen Master Yuan An, who appointed him to manage the vegetable garden, cultivating his practice through labor. One day, a monk, feeling that he had achieved success in his practice and could leave the mountain to wander, went to ask Zen Master Yuan An for permission to leave. Naturally, the monk needed the master's consent to leave the mountain. Zen Master Yuan An, upon hearing the monk's request, laughed and said, "Mountains surround us on all sides. Which direction will you go?" The monk couldn't grasp the underlying Zen meaning and left disheartened. Unconsciously, the monk wandered to the vegetable garden, where Xianjing was hoeing. Seeing the monk's dejected expression, Xianjing asked, "Brother, why do you look so troubled?" The monk explained his situation in detail. Xianjing pondered the meaning behind surrounded by mountains and thought it was a test of the monk's faith and determination. Understanding the master's intent, he laughed and said, "Dense bamboo cannot stop flowing water. No mountain can block the clouds." The monk returned to Zen Master Yuan An and said, "Dense bamboo cannot stop flowing water. No mountain can block the clouds." He expected the master to praise him and permit him to leave the mountain. However, Zen Master Yuan An, upon hearing this, looked stern and asked, "Is this your answer? Who helped you?" Realizing that the master had found out, the monk confessed that Xianjing had assisted him. Zen Master Yuan An remarked, "The monk managing the vegetable garden, Xianjing, is destined to achieve great things. You should learn more before thinking about leaving the mountain." Zen wisdom. There is no difficulty in the world that cannot be overcome. The key lies within oneself. With determination, every obstacle can be surmounted. A lessery bread. After Zen Master Baijian passed away, Zen Master Shanyan Jishan went to study under Zen Master Wei Shan Lingyo. Upon seeing Shanyan Jishan, Wei Shan asked, "I've heard that you once studied under Master Baijian, learning one thing and understanding 10, learning 10 and understanding 100. However, those were merely intellectual understandings. Now I won't ask you about ordinary knowledge or what's memorized from books. Instead, tell me about the time before you were born. What is your original nature? If you can say one sentence about it, I will certify your enlightenment." Xianyan Jishan, unable to respond, pondered for a while before saying, "Please, senior brother, say it for me." Wei Shan replied, "If I say it, that would be my understanding. What use is that to you?" Xianyan Jishan returned to the monk's hall, brought out all his notes and scriptures and searched through them, but found no suitable answer. He sighed and said, "Speaking of food doesn't fill the stomach, and illusory bread cannot satisfy hunger." He then burned all his scriptures and vowed, "I will not study intellectual teachings anymore. From now on, I will dedicate myself to cooking and labor, to avoid wasting my energy." He bid farewell to Zen Master Wei Shan and went to practice at the site of Master Huishong in Nanyang. One day, while cutting weeds, he accidentally struck a piece of tile against a bamboo which made a sound. At that moment, he experienced great enlightenment and composed a verse. "A single strike erased all that I knew, no longer dependent on cultivation's hue. In every motion and every stance, the ancient path does once again advance. Without trace or form I roam the land, in the colors beyond I take my stand. All those who've reached the ultimate truth speak of the supreme, profound route." From this story we can understand that knowledge is knowledge, and enlightenment is enlightenment. Knowledge is recognized through differentiated consciousness, while enlightenment is formed through the experiential wisdom of non-differentiation. Zen cannot be attained by rigidly sitting in meditation. Zen must transition from differentiated awareness to non-differentiated wisdom. 18. Zen is beyond words. There was a monk named Dao Nian who had been a monk for several decades but had not yet achieved enlightenment, despite traveling extensively to learn. One day he asked Zen master Shilu for guidance, saying, "I have not yet realized my true nature. Please, Zen master, kindly help me." Shilu said, "Shilu has no mouth." Dao Nian replied, "I am sincerely devoted and am listening attentively." Shilu asked, "What are you listening to?" Dao Nian responded, "I acknowledge my heavy sins." Shilu said, "I, the old monk, also have many sins." Dao Nian asked, "What wrong has the Zen master done?" Shilu replied, "The fault lies in your error." Dao Nian asked, "Can this be repented?" Shilu said, "Sins originally come from nothingness created by the mind. When the mind is extinguished, the sins will vanish as well." Dao Nian quickly bowed, and then the Zen master struck him. After striking, Shilu asked, "Where have you been staying recently?" Dao Nian replied, "From Liang, Tang, Jin, Han to Zhou. I have traveled everywhere on a pilgrimage." Shilu asked, "Do those rulers still value the Buddhist teachings?" Dao Nian said, "It's fortunate you asked me. If you asked others, you might provoke disaster." Shilu inquired, "Why is that?" Dao Nian replied, "Because those rulers do not like being doubted." Shilu said, "You have not met them. How can you say they value the Buddhist teachings?" Dao Nian asked, "Please tell me, how can the Buddhist teachings be restored?" Shilu asked, "How many years have you been ordained?" Dao Nian answered, "More than 10 years." Shilu said, "More than 10 years and you still do not understand the importance of the teachings. Today you ask me, how can my mouth explain clearly? How can your ears truly hear it?" Dao Nian finally achieved enlightenment. Zen wisdom. Studying for decades in the Zen school without understanding is not in vain once the opportunity arises. Zen master Shilu's statement that Shilu has no mouth indicates that Zen transcends words. Dao Nian's sincere listening, like washing his ears, couldn't penetrate his heart. Why make such an effort? 19. Like drinking water, knowing hot or cold. In the Tao Te Ching, Laozi lamented, "The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao," meaning that the Tao expressed in words is not the true essence of the Tao. Zen Buddhism believes that if it can be articulated, it is not the Tao. A novice monk asked Zen master Chiji for the true meaning of the Tao and engaged in a dialogue. "Zen master, when a Zen practitioner attains enlightenment, can they express their enlightened state and the things they experience?" Once enlightened, it's like grasping the wind in empty space. The miraculous cannot be spoken. Can the Zen master describe the indescribable state of enlightenment? It's like a mute person tasting honey. When a Zen practitioner is not enlightened, their eloquent explanations and clear expositions, are these considered Zen words? If not enlightened, how can it be considered Zen words? It's just the parrot's speech. What's the difference between a mute tasting honey and a parrot mimicking speech? The mute tasting honey knows, like a person drinking water who knows hot or cold. The parrot mimicking speech does not know, like a child learning to speak without understanding the meaning within. Hearing this, the intelligent novice asked, "So is the Zen master knowing or not knowing?" Chiji laughed heartily and said, "I am like a mute tasting coptis, bitter but unspeakable, yet like a parrot mimicking speech, speaking very similarly to humans. You tell me, do I know or not know?" The novice expressed profound respect, repeatedly thanking the Zen master. Zen wisdom. The primary meaning of Zen Buddhism is that enlightenment cannot be attained outside oneself. If I tell you, it becomes the secondary meaning. 20. The universe in a mustard seed. The Bailu Dong Library, known as the foremost library in the nation, was the most complete library in Chinese history. The brothers Li Bo of the Tang dynasty lived in seclusion here to read. Li Bo raised a white deer, always staying together, hence he was called the White Deer Sage. Later, Li Bo became the prefect of Jianzhou, constructing pavilions, digging streams, and planting trees and flowers, making it a tourist attraction. During the 5 dynasties of the southern Tang, the National Academy of Mount Lu was established here, which was the predecessor of the Bailu Dong Library. Once, when Li Bo was the prefect of Jianzhou, he asked Zen master Xichang, In Buddhist scriptures it says, Mount Sumeru in a mustard seed. How can such a vast mountain fit into a tiny mustard seed? Isn't this deceiving people? Zen Master Shichang smiled and asked, people say you have collected tens of thousands of books. Is that true? Of course, I have read more than 10,000 volumes, Libo proudly said. Then where are these tens of thousands of books now? Shichang asked. Libo pointed to his head and said, they are all here. Shichang said, strange. I see your head is only the size of a coconut. How can you fit tens of thousands of books into such a small head? Are you deceiving people? Hearing this, Libo suddenly realized and was enlightened. Analyzing matters sometimes requires discussing the essence, and other times understanding principles. To comprehend the myriad things in the world, there is reason within the matter, and matter within reason. If one tries to grasp the entirety of a matter without understanding its essence, they will miss the point entirely. Zen wisdom: there is no difficulty in the world, only the fear of a lack of determination. No obstacle cannot be overcome with a determined heart. 21. Appreciate and accumulate blessings. 3 Zen masters, Shuifeng, Yantou, and Qin Tian, traveled together, spreading the teachings. One day they were on a pilgrimage, intending to beg for alms in a certain place, when they saw fresh vegetables floating in the river. Qin Tian said, such beautiful vegetables floating away is a real waste. Shuifeng said, the villagers who waste such blessings are not worth enlightening. We should go to another village for alms. While discussing this, they saw a man rushing downstream and asked, Master, have you seen a bunch of vegetables floating by? I was washing vegetables when they were accidentally swept away. I'm trying to retrieve them. After hearing this, Shuifeng and his companions laughed and said in unison, let's stay at his house to teach and rest. Zen wisdom: cherishing items is called accumulating blessings. Only those who know how to cherish blessings will have them. Fullness overflows. In history, Fenghua County, Mingzhou was known for 2 living treasures: the venerable monk Budai, who begged along the roads, and the recluse Purity Ping, who meditated in seclusion. They exhibited peculiar behavior and spoke wildly, yet locals considered them enlightened sages. One day, a curious young man decided to visit them. First, he encountered monk Budai in a filthy alley. Budai, short and fat like a bull, was casually sleeping on the ground. The young man invited monk Budai to a meal and instructed the waiter to serve a variety of dishes, watching how Budai would react. Monk Budai clasped his hands and sincerely chanted, "Karma, karma." After paying homage, he ate heartily and placed a bit of each dish into his cloth bag, smiling at the young man. "Is this what you call an enlightened sage?" The young man was thoroughly disappointed. He then visited Purity Ping, hoping for some insightful guidance. When he arrived, Purity Ping was meditating. Upon seeing the young man, Ping said nothing but started pouring tea into a teapot until it overflowed. "Master, the teapot is full. How can you keep pouring?" The young man could not help but remind him. "Is it?" Ping continued pouring and asked, "What about you?" The young man suddenly understood and exclaimed, "Indeed, a sage of true enlightenment. I was foolish before." "Care to elaborate?" Ping asked calmly. "The master teaches humility and broad-mindedness, avoiding arrogance and pride. Upon enlightenment, I realized that Master Budai also taught me the value of daily practice and diligence. With these 2 teachings, I am no longer troubled." Zen wisdom: success requires 2 valuable qualities: the emptiness deep as an empty pot, and the accumulated practice of everyday diligence. Letting go. Once, Zen Master Tan Shan and his disciple Tom Tom were on a pilgrimage when they encountered a heavy rainstorm that turned a ditch into a small river. As they were preparing to cross the river, they saw a girl in a silk dress standing hesitantly at the edge, clearly not wanting to get her clothes wet. "Let me help you," Tan Shan said, then extended his hands and carried the girl across the small river. Tom Tom, witnessing this, became gloomy and said nothing. When night fell and they were resting at an inn, Tom Tan could no longer hold back and said to Tan Shan, "As monks, we are not supposed to be close to women, especially young and beautiful ones. It's very dangerous. Why did you break this precept?" "Oh, you mean the girl by the river?" Tan Shan asked. "I put her down long ago. Are you still carrying her?" Letting go is the greatest wisdom in life. As the Heart Sutra says, with no obstacles in the mind, There is no fear, far from all deluded dreams. Nirvana is reached. Naturally, the whole body becomes light and free, liberated from obstacles and supremely joyful. 24. Bayan and the baby. Bayan was a renowned Zen master in Japan. His teacher was Zen master Zheng, and their bond was profoundly deep. When Bayan decided to travel, Zheng bid him farewell with the words, "Gather friends like a shadow following the body." This was Zheng's heartfelt way of expressing his reluctance to part with Bayan. It was not merely worldly attachment, but a transformation of his spiritual aspirations, hoping Bayan would understand that their bond was rooted in wisdom and compassion from Buddha. Bayan lived up to Zheng's expectations. One day, he was falsely accused of making a local girl pregnant. Her parents, unable to bear the shame, angrily confronted Bayan. The girl, under pressure, claimed that Bayan was the father. Bayan calmly listened to the accusations and merely said, "Is that so?" When the baby was born, it was handed over to Father Bayan. His reputation was ruined and he was slandered everywhere, but he did not mind. He took good care of the child, begging neighbors for milk and other necessities. A year later, the girl's conscience could no longer bear it, and she confessed to her parents that the baby's father was actually a young man who worked at the fish market. Her parents took her to Bayan, apologized, and asked for forgiveness while taking the baby back. Bayan simply said, "Is that so?" Despite the great injustice and mistreatment he endured, Bayan only responded with a light, "Is that so?" Life is like a journey. If you carry all the successes and failures, gains and losses, you will not be able to move forward. Therefore, you must let go of some old things, say goodbye to the past, and stride toward greater goals. 25. Letting go to attain enlightenment. An old monk walked leisurely with a pole over his shoulder which held clay jars filled with green bean soup. He tripped, the jars broke and the soup spilled out, but the monk continued walking as if nothing had happened. Someone rushed up and asked, "Don't you know the jars are broken?" "I know," the old monk replied calmly. "Then why don't you go back and see what can be done? It's already broken and spilled. What can be done by going back?" 26. Doing one thing well is tenfold. One day, a Zen master heard pleasant music and approached to find a young man playing an instrument. "Have you tightened the strings of your instrument?" the Zen master asked. The young man replied, "No." "Then, have you loosened them?" the Zen master asked again. The young man answered, "No." "How do you adjust them?" the Zen master asked, pretending not to understand. The young man explained, "Not too tight, not too loose. That's how you produce beautiful music." The Zen master joyfully said, "Life is like a game, just like this instrument. If beings treat everything lightly, they can achieve the effect of doing one thing well. Only when the strings are neither too tight nor too loose can the music of life be beautifully played." After hearing this, the young man thanked the Zen master for his guidance, immersed himself in the realization, and gradually discovered the true joys of life. Zen wisdom. In life, we must pursue our careers, material wealth and rights, but also pay attention to inner growth and elevation. This balance ensures a fulfilling and happy life. 27. Purifying the mind purifies the land. Zen master Zhao was discussing Buddhist principles with his disciple Wen Yan when a devotee sent a cake to the two of them. Zen master Zhao said to Wen Yan, "How should we eat this cake? Let's make a bet. Whoever can compare themselves to the most filthy and lowly thing wins the cake." "You are the master, you go first," Wen Yan said. Zhao said, "I am a donkey." Wen Yan replied, "I am the donkey's butt." Zhao continued, "I am the dung in the donkey's butt." Wen Yan didn't back down, saying, "I am the worm in the dung." Zhao, unable to continue the comparison, asked, "What does your worm do in the dung?" Wen Yan answered, "I stay in the dung to avoid the heat and enjoy the coolness." Zen wisdom. What we consider the filthiest place can be a haven of freedom and joy for a Zen master. Because they possess Zen, the world appears different to them. Therefore, every place is a pure land. In the hearts of Zen masters, purity and impurity are one and the same. Where the mind is pure, the land is pure. 28. Eating porridge and drinking tea. Zen master Zhao deeply integrated Buddhism into daily life and often demonstrated Zen principles through everyday actions. Many novice monks came to ask him about Zen. One asked, "Master, I am new here. Please guide me." Zhao Zhou did not respond directly but asked, "Have you eaten your porridge?" The novice replied, "Yes, I have." Zhao Zhou instructed, "Then go wash your bowl." The novice was enlightened. Another monk came and asked, "Master, I am new here. Please enlighten me." Zhao Zhou asked, "How long have you been here?" The monk replied, "I just arrived today." Zhao Zhou asked, "Have you had tea?" The monk replied, "Yes, I have." Zhao Zhou instructed, "Go report to the guest hall." The monk was enlightened as well. A third monk, who had been studying at Guanyin Monastery under Zhao Zhou for over 10 years, said, "I have been learning for more than 10 years, thanks to your guidance. Today, I wish to leave the mountain and seek further learning elsewhere." Upon hearing this, Zhao Zhou feigned surprise. "Why do you accuse me so unfairly? Since you arrived, you have brought me tea every day. You have given me food to eat. You bowed and I frowned. You greeted me and I bowed in return. When did I not guide you? How can you say such false accusations against me?" After hearing this, the monk reflected deeply. Zhao Zhou said, "To know is to know. If you have different thoughts, you will stray from the path." The monk seemed to understand but asked, "How can I maintain this understanding?" Zhao Zhou instructed, "Hope will end when false ties are severed, then you will be like the Buddha." The monk was instantly enlightened. Zen wisdom. Buddhist teachings in the Zen mind must not be separated from everyday life. Enjoying a meal is Zen. Sleeping soundly is Zen. Detached from life, how can Buddhism be of any use? Today's practitioners focus only on life and death, neglecting daily life, which truly deviates from the path. 29 clouds in the blue sky, water in the jar. Li Nao, Han Yu, Lu Zongyuan, and Lu Yushi were all literary friends in the Tang dynasty, sharing deep bonds. Li Nao's work, Returning to the Nature, was a significant fusion of Zen and Confucianism, and his insights surpassed those of Han Yu. Thus, his work was embraced by Song dynasty scholars and marked as a cornerstone of Neo-Confucianism. Li Nao greatly admired the virtues of Zen master Duanyan. While serving as prefect of Langzhou, he repeatedly invited Duanyan to discuss Zen, but was consistently declined. Consequently, Li Nao decided to visit Duanyan personally. Upon arrival, he found the master reading sutras under a tree by the mountain. Despite the prefect's presence, Duanyan did not acknowledge him, continuing to meditate. An attendant reminded Duanyan, "The prefect has been waiting for hours." Duanyan ignored the comment, keeping his eyes closed. Li Nao, an impatient man, grew angry at this lack of acknowledgement and exclaimed, "Meeting you is nothing like hearing about you." He turned to leave in frustration. It was then that Duanyan slowly opened his eyes and asked, "Why would you disregard personal experience in favor of rumors?" This struck at the heart of the saying, "Seeing is believing." Startled, Li Nao turned back, apologized, and humbly asked for an explanation of precepts, concentration, and wisdom. Precepts, concentration, and wisdom is a gradual practice initiated by Zen master Da Hui in the Song dynasty, where one first adheres to precepts, then attains concentration, and finally wisdom. However, Duanyan, a disciple of Zen master Shito Shichian of the Southern School under Huineng, focused on sudden enlightenment rather than gradual practice. Thus, Duanyan replied, "I have no use for such useless practices here." Confused, Li Nao asked, "May I know the master's surname?" Duanyan replied, "It is Nao." Li Nao was even more puzzled and privately asked the temple manager what the master meant. The manager explained, "The master's surname is Han, which means cold. It's winter now, so he referred to the present cold season." Overhearing this, Duanyan interjected, "Nonsense. If he had come in summer, I would still say now. Would it mean hot then?" Li Nao couldn't help but laugh, and the atmosphere lightened considerably. He then asked Duanyan about the Tao. Duanyan pointed to the sky and then to the ground, asking, "Do you understand?" Li Nao shook his head, admitting, "I don't." Duanyan's phrase, "clouds in the blue sky, water in the jar," had two layers of meaning. First, it referred to the natural state of things, like the original appearance of objects, needing no embellishment. By understanding the true nature of things, one grasps the Tao. Second, it suggested that the heart, like water in a jar, must remain clear and pure. A clear heart can adapt to anything, much like how pure water takes the shape of its container. At that moment, a ray of sunlight shone into the jar, and Li Nao was enlightened. He couldn't help but recite a poem. Practice to have a crane-like form, reading books beneath the heavens. I came to ask about the Tao, clouds in the blue sky, water in the jar. Whether he fully grasped the Zen truth or was simply praising the master's words, this poem became an immortal Zen verse. Initially, Duanyan's aloofness was to humble Li Nao, making it easier for him to enter a meditative state. Ultimately, he imparted the true essence of the Tao, clouds in the blue sky, water in the jar. Zen wisdom. Maintaining a calm and natural mind allows one to transcend worldly distractions, embodying the true essence of a pure and tranquil heart. A gentle demeanor can dispel narrow-mindedness and arrogance, embracing life with sincerity and grounding oneself in reality. 30. The mirror of Zen reflects the self. For a bright mirror, whether it reflects the most beautiful rose or the filthiest dung, both will be displayed clearly. Similarly, whether it's a floating white cloud or a peaceful green field, everything can freely manifest its state. Zen master Guangjai Huizhong from the Tang dynasty had profound and exquisite practice. Invited to the capital by Emperor Shizong of Tang, treated with reverence as a national teacher. One day, Minister Yu Zhaoyan visited him and asked, "What is ignorance, and when did ignorance begin?" Master Huizhong bluntly replied, "Buddhism is declining if even people like you inquire about it." Yu Zhaoyan, unaccustomed to such rudeness, turned pale and was about to retaliate when Huizhong said, "That is ignorance, and ignorance begins here." Huizhong explained that ignorance obscures the true nature, and ignorance begins precisely in this way. Yu Zhaoyan suddenly realized and thereafter held even greater respect for Huizhong. Zen teaches us that we must understand all joys and sufferings of human life. In the ultimate realm, joy is like a smile reflected in a mirror, and suffering is like a shadow occasionally passing over water. These are merely reflections, not reality. Zen wisdom. Zen is the true world. It doesn't teach us to see dung as roses, but to recognize dung as dung and roses as roses.